Peter and the Rainbow Mermaid, written by Sanna Tanvir. One Friday after school, Peter was excited, as his mom and dad had made plans for the family to spend that weekend on the beach. Peter had also invited his friends Clara and George to join him. So, on Saturday morning, Peter woke up early. He helped his mom in packing sandwiches and cupcakes. Clara and George had brought their balloon ball, beach spade, shovel, and bucket to play with. All of them were excited to spend quality time in the sunshine and fresh air. Soon they arrived there. Mom and Dad placed a mat on the sand and started arranging stuff, while the kids started playing ball. Suddenly, Clara kicked the ball hard, and it landed far away behind some bushes. "Clara, go get that ball back," George ordered Clara. "It's Peter's turn, so he will go this time." "Come on, guys, don't fight. I'll get the ball," Peter said. He ran behind the bushes. The ball was way down near the shoreline. It must have bounced off something and then rolled down there. He went over to the ball and was about to pick it up, when suddenly he saw something shining brightly in the sand. He went near it and picked it up. It was a crystal, beautiful like a diamond. Peter held it up to let the sunshine show off the beauty of the crystal. But as he did, the crystal started to glow brightly. Suddenly, a face appeared in the crystal. At first, Peter was afraid, but then he looked deeply into the crystal and saw that it was the face of a mermaid. At that moment, a big wave emerged from the sea and completely smoothed out all footsteps and every other sort of marking in the sand. Without thinking, Peter started walking toward it. "Hey, what are you doing? Why aren't you coming back? And where's the ball?" George inquired impatiently. Peter quickly came back to his senses. It almost seemed like he'd been under a magic spell. He quickly put the crystal in his pocket. Nothing. I was just coming back." Peter fumbled a little bit and picked up the ball again. But Clara noticed something odd about the way Peter was acting. They started playing ball again. On the way back home, Peter could not stop thinking about that mermaid. Before going to bed, he took out the crystal to see if he could still see the mermaid. But there was nothing there, and the crystal was not even shining like before. He wondered if it had all been an illusion, and decided to go back to the sea to find the truth behind that strange crystal. The next morning, he foolishly left without informing his mom and dad and started walking toward the sea once again. He took the crystal from his pocket and noticed that it started to shine once again. But he still couldn't see the face of the mermaid in the crystal. He walked closer to the sea and looked into the water. He was startled to see the mermaid there, but this time she was looking somewhat anxious to him. It seemed like she was trying to say something to him. Peter waved at her. The mermaid waved back with her tail. "You are a mermaid?" Peter asked. The mermaid nodded. "Why are you so sad?" Peter could not resist and asked the mermaid the reason behind her sadness. "Why are you so sad?" Tears started to roll down her cheeks in the form of pearls from her eyes. Suddenly, a big wave rose up and carried the mermaid high above him for a moment. Her beautifully colored body was shining like a rainbow in the sunshine. Peter was mesmerized by her beauty. Then Peter heard shouting behind him. "A mermaid! Wow!" cried Clara and George. The mermaid grew afraid and quickly dove back into the sea. "Wait, don't go!" George cried out. "What have you done? Why are you guys here?" Peter asked them both. "I saw you keeping that crystal in your pocket yesterday and felt that something might be wrong with you, so we decided to keep an eye on you," Clara replied. "Where's that mermaid?" George asked, while looking for her in the water. "You scared her away, and now she's gone," Peter said. "But we are here to help her. We know that she needs help," Clara explained. They all went near the shoreline and looked into the water. They tried to call her back, but it was all in vain. "Hey, is the crystal shining?" George pointed toward Peter's pocket. Peter took the crystal out of his pocket. There he saw the mermaid again. This time, she was looking a little bit afraid. "Don't be afraid of us. We are also here to help you," Clara said in a friendly tone. The mermaid smiled and nodded. Then she drew some images in the water. Peter tried to understand what she meant, but he could not. "Oh, I got it. It's the water language used by these mermaids. I've read about this in marine life class at school," George said with a wave of excitement. "What is she trying to say?" Clara asked George. "Let me look more closely," George said, and started to think deeply while looking in the crystal. After a few minutes, he raised his head and said, "We should go back home." "Don't be silly, George. Tell us what her drawing meant," Clara said in frustration. "She is asking for help to save her kingdom from a cruel water lord that has invaded her land. He has stolen all her powers. Now she is helpless. She wants us to save her kingdom and her friends," George told Clara and Peter. "But how can we be of help? We don't even know how to swim," Clara asked with confusion. "But that's why Peter found the crystal. The mermaid wanted his help in this," George said, continuing to think deeply. "If he's a water lord with superpowers, he might have a huge army too. How could we manage to save them?" Peter asked with worry. The mermaid started to draw something again. "Look," said Clara. When she finally stopped drawing, a smile came to George's lips. "She has given us a plan to help fix this waterlord story," George announced with excitement. "First, we have to defeat his army by cleaning the trash from the beach and stop people from throwing litter into the sea. It seems that the waterlord's army gets their power from that trash, and we have to defeat the army to weaken the waterlord, and do it as soon as possible. After that, she will tell us what we have to do next to defeat the waterlord himself," said George, as he explained the rest of the mermaid's plan to them. With a clear understanding of what needed to be done, the friends began their mission to clean the beach. They collected all the garbage from the seashore and disposed of it properly. They installed bins on the beach so that people could throw garbage away there instead. They also placed signboards on the shore to raise awareness about cleanliness. Within just 1 week, they were able to clean the beach and maintain the sea properly. One day, while walking from home, Peter realized that the crystal had started to shine again. He rushed toward George's house to tell him that the mermaid wanted to talk to them. Clara came along as well. Together, they all walked to the beach. Peter took the crystal from his pocket. The mermaid appeared once again, but this time she was looking happy. She started to draw some images again. "She's thanking us for cleaning up the beach and the sea. She's saying that the army of the water lords starved because there was no trash for them to eat. Now the water lord himself has grown weak, and we can defeat him easily," George told them. "But I'm confused. How do we do that?" Peter inquired. "Let me ask her," George said. The mermaid thought for a while and then started to draw something. George looked deep into the crystal. After a few minutes, he raised his head and said, "Only Peter can defeat the Water Lord and save the mermaid's kingdom." Clara and Peter were shocked. Peter knows how to swim, so he has to go into the water and take the black magic wand from the Water Lord. He has to break that wand and release the stolen powers back to the mermaid and her friends. This will defang and defeat the Water Lord once and for all, George said. Peter thought about this for a while, and then he decided to go into the sea. He put on his swimsuit and jumped into the water. There, he finally met the mermaid, and they became friends. They traveled together to the Water Lord's palace. As they drew close, the mermaid started feeling dizzy. The black powers of the Water Lord began to draw the life from the mermaid's body. So she pointed Peter toward the way to the Water Lord's wand. He went inside the palace and saw the giant-sized Water Lord. He was pacing back and forth, yelling loudly about the defeat of his once great army. Peter saw the wand lying on the throne. As he started to move toward the wand, the Water Lord spotted Peter. "You! So, a little kid has crushed my army. I will not spare your life," the Water Lord roared. He picked up his wand and tried to cast a spell on Peter. But Peter somehow jumped around a corner and dodged the spell. The Water Lord missed his target, and he became more furious. He began to cast another spell, but Peter quickly grabbed a handful of pepper from his bag and threw it into the eyes of the Water Lord, who began to scream and cast spells blindly in every direction. He was unable to see anything at all. Peter quickly walked up to the blinded Water Lord and snatched the wand from his hand. "Give that back to me, or I will take your life," roared the Water Lord. "Your game is over now, cruel Water Lord," Peter smirked, and with that, he broke the wand in half. Suddenly, a sea storm appeared. Flashes of light spread out across the sea. The Water Lord continued his roaring, but the dark palace began changing to rainbow colors, and lovely creatures everywhere began to awake from a deep sleep. Peter began his swim back to the beach. Then, suddenly, he was just there, where he collapsed from exhaustion. The next morning, as Peter got up, he found himself in his bed. "Are you all right?" Clara asked, as she and George walked into the room. I broke the wand, and a sea storm appeared. I didn't know what was happening, so I swam away, and I don't remember anything after that." "How did I get here?" Peter asked. "A huge wave carried you out of the sea." "I think we might have to go back to the sea so the mermaid can tell us," Clara said. "Hey, look, the crystal is shining again," George said. Peter took the crystal in his hand. The mermaid was there, and she was looking happy with her friends and family. "Thank you so much for your help. You are a true warrior," she said. "Hey, you can talk," Clara said, surprised. "Yes, I can. The Water Lord had taken all our powers and stolen our voices, too," the mermaid replied. "What happened that day? I've forgotten everything," Peter asked. "You defeated the Water Lord. You saved our lives and returned to us the true colors of our land. Before you get confused once again, let me introduce myself. I am the father of the Rainbow Mermaid and the king of this kingdom," a man said. Then they showed Peter the kingdom. Everything was rainbow-colored there. Plants, stones, and even the whole palace itself were all bathed with rainbow colors. Peter and his friends were delighted that they had saved the lives of the people of the underwater kingdom. The mermaid had gifted that crystal to Peter, and it had now turned into a rainbow crystal. She told him whenever he wanted to see them in the water, he could ask through this crystal. The next weekend, when Peter and his friends visited the sea, they saw that the beach was still clean, and they all realized that finally they had achieved something important in life. The end.